Okay, changing theme entirely. I'm possibly at the wrong meeting entirely. I'm here to talk about a marine application, and you've been talking about terrestrial applications, and I'm sure that you're almost all entirely interested in terrestrial, but maybe we can just lead astray for just a second. I'm also here very clearly to talk about information rather than data, and we'll come to the distinction between the two perhaps during the presentation. But anyway, NABIS, National Aquatic Biodiversity Information System, first version was released in 2004, and we released a new version, which is an entire rewrite about 6 months ago. So we're now on to version 2. Okay, so first up, just one slide on the business drivers for NABIS, then I'll go through a worked example just to show you what people could use it for, actually 3 worked examples, and then I'm just going to show you some pretty pictures. Okay, business drivers came out of the year 2000 Biodiversity Initiative to make information available to people, communities, and relevant to their local environments. Consolidate and share existing and new information so that others can benefit from relevant knowledge. This is great. Enhance the capacity of people and organisations to fulfil their responsibilities. So those are why we built it. Work example, static data layers. So I'm going to start by talking about static data layers. This is what the front end of NABIS looks like. It's a web GIS or a web mapping system. You've probably seen a ton of them around the place. You just go through and pick the particular topic you're interested in. There's also a search thing up there in the top right. NABIS doesn't require any registration or log on. If you get asked for your credit card details, you're in the wrong place. I think that's the address, but I'm not certain about the 2. I tried putting it in 2 earlier and had some trouble. Just type in NABIS. Make sure you type in NABIS on Google. The New Zealand version is, if you type it in the American version, it's the North American Brain Injury Association. Society, sorry. Okay, this is what the map page looks like. Just the standard sort of stuff. You've got a browsing area down here where you select the map you're interested in. You can move maps, zoom in, zoom out, undo, what's here, reset, print, measure distances, etc. And we'll just go through a little worked example. Okay, so it's all about data layers, and here we're talking about static data layers. We've now got 3 data layers showing on this map. We've got one data layer that's giving us the bathymetry, one that's giving us the topography of New Zealand, and one that's showing us the distribution of giant squid. And we see down here we've clicked the giant squid box, we've selected it out in the list of all the data layers that are available. Now we've selected another data layer to add to that, so we've now added white pointer sharks. So we're now looking at bathymetry, New Zealand, giant squid, and white pointer sharks. And you, as the person who's using NABIS, are able to see that there's a sort of overlap between the distribution of white pointer sharks and giant squid there just in Cook Strait near Wellington. And in fact, if you zoom on in, you can see that, well, I've also added our place names. Tarakirai Head, about 5.7 kilometres off Tarakirai Head. It's not a good idea to fall overboard there. So within the distribution of both giant squids and great white sharks, you can see we've changed now. We're showing you all the data layers we've got. We've got place names, we've got the great white shark distribution, the giant squid distribution, bathymetry and coastline. And you also see that you can open up any one of these different data layers, and you can get to change the colour, hide the layer, remove the layer, do a whole lot of other different things. Exactly what you can do in it is dependent on the layer itself. So anyway, don't fall overboard 6 kilometres off Tarakirai Head. You might think to yourself, well, you know, where does this information come from? It could be a complete load of bollocks. Anything you find on the internet, you've got to have a lot of doubt about it, right? Most of it's rubbish. But there's metadata within NABIS associated with every individual data layer. So the metadata does not describe the system. The metadata describes the individual data layer. And in this case, we find out that this the great white shark distribution layer was created by Malcolm Francis of Niwa. And those of you who know will know that Malcolm Francis of Niwa is not prone to hysterical exaggeration about where there are great white sharks. You can also click on the metadata and get taken into lineage metadata, and in the lineage metadata, Malcolm Francis has provided you with 3 pages of description of his methodology and how he created that data layer. So he's given you 3 pages of information, a 3-page methodology for how he drew that map. And by the way, all the species distribution maps in NABIS are peer reviewed. So a scientist goes through and creates them, and then another scientist has to peer review them and sign off that they represent a good depiction of that species distribution. If you do happen to fall overboard and get eaten by great white sharks and giant squid, eventually those few small bits of your remains that are left may well get grabbed by king shags that have a breeding colony 66 kilometres away on the island up there. I'm not certain what it is. But anyway, you can use the NABIS What Here tool and click on that breeding colony. Look at that. And you can find out details about the particular breeding colony. This is the breeding colony of king shags, scientific name, where they're located. This particular colony is the White Rocks colony. There's 26 breeding pairs there. And if your relatives want to get whatever remains of your back, your bones or whatever, they should contact the General Manager Biodiversity Recovery Unit, Department of Conservation in Wellington. Okay, we've just been showing you static data layers. What we were seeing there, we walked through 5 static data layers. 1 was the topography of New Zealand, 2 was the bathymetry, 3 was the great white shark distribution, 4 was the squid distribution, and 5 was the breeding colonies of king shags. So that's 5 static data layers you got to see. You got to mix and match any combination of those 5. There are about 750 static data layers on NABIS. So you can create any combination of map that you can think of out of 750 static data layers. Let's go now look at a different work example of querying live databases. First up, we've just got 3 data layers showing here, again, bathymetry New Zealand and the distribution of orange ruffy. And by the way, showing you the power of GIS. You didn't know anything about the distribution of orange ruffy, but just look at the GIS and you see that that is distributed along, I think that's the 1,000-metre bathymetry. So you immediately know, someone who's looking at this thing, these things live at about 1,000 metres. It's that simple. Okay, anyway, we're going to click up here and we've got some more tools. We've got a commercial catch tool, and now we're moving away from the static data layers, from the 750 static data layers. This is a tool which is going to allow you to query a Ministry of Fisheries database, and it's going to create a new data layer, and the difference is it's going to create it on the fly. It's going to create it dynamically. You're going to select the species up there, and there's about 100 species you can choose from. You're going to select a method, one or more fishing methods, so there's about 30 of those you can choose from, years and months, and then you're going to set the number of breaks you want, the number of data categories, and then you're just going to go show catch.